Hi. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm just going to give a few minutes here to get us settled and set up, and then we'll get started. Hi. Yeah, people are jumping on right now, and I'm just getting my technology sorted. So I'll be with you guys in a minute. Grab a pen and paper. And if you can just give me a thumbs up, making sure that you guys can all hear me on Facebook. I know you can hear me on our Zoom live. So I just want to make sure we're all good. Yep, thank you for the feedback. Okay, you can hear me. So what I want to do today is I'm doing a book review. And the book review is, I've been reading a lot of books. I've been reading a lot of research, doctors at universities that are conducting studies that are really generating a lot of value in the marketplace. And I've been spending a good, 10, maybe 8 to 10 hours a week doing research. So, and I also, just FYI, in the assignment, like the attachments on our Facebook page, I have a sheet that includes like my books for the year. So feel free to go ahead and download that. I actually have a blank one for you so that if you want to fill out books that you've read, or that you wish, like your wish list for the year, super cool and super valuable. I created it for myself. And again, things that I create for me, I want to create for you too. And I'm going to actually just show you what that looks like. But it's a list, right? And on my list, I have like 50 books. And I've so far read like 11 for the year. And I'm learning so much. So I wanted to share my learning with you. And one of the books that I've read that I feel is going to be super valuable for you guys and relevant to all of us that are definitely in our mid 40s or approaching the mid 40s and beyond. Because aging and health and self-care are a topic that we talk about a lot. And each of us have had our own challenges and struggles with self-care, with health. And, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like I have a lot of people in my life that are really caring for elders in their lives, or struggling with, midlife kind of things that have popped up that are not going to be ignored. So the book that I'm going to share with you guys today is called The Telomere, or Telomere. There's like, depending on how you want to say that, it's Telomere effect. The Telomere effect. This is a Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn and Dr. Elisa Eppels' book and research that published their research on telomeres. So what is a telomere? I didn't even know what that was until I had read a review about this book, and I was like, okay, I am going to read this book. So the telomere effect is basically about aging. So the quick summary, I'm going to read this to you because I have notes down here for myself. So you know that the lifestyle choices we make play an integral role in our health. But what you may or may not know is that this occurs on a cellular level. The condition and length of our telomeres, the DNA that lives on the end of our chromosomes, and protects your genetic heritage are excellent indicators for your health and aging. So food choices, exercise habits, sleep patterns, stress levels, negative thoughts, and even exposure to chemical effects all affect the telomeres in our body. By taking certain actions in your life and adopting specific habits and responses, you can protect your telomeres in life and live a healthier, vibrant, and more meaningful life. So there's 10 main ideas that I'll share with you about this book. It's quite dense, and there's a lot of research that's created, but she gives it in a very simple way. And if you have a laundry list of other books that you prefer to read, I will give you the 10 main ideas in this book that she shares or they share. And I also love the fact that it's that it's a woman that did this research. And so basically the telomeres, how do we think about the telomeres? It's like, the little thing at the end of the shoelace, they call it aglet, AGLETS, aglets. Those are those little plastic things that are wrapped around the end of the string of the shoelace to hold it together. So if we visualized these aglets, these are what telomeres, like we think of them as telomeres, and they're the little plastic caps at the end of the shoelaces. This is what a telomere essentially on a comparison is. And the length of that plastic cap, that aglet, the longer they are, the healthier, the more youthful, the more, the better we are. The shorter they are, soon you got to get some new shoelaces, right? Or we're shortening them. That's the aging process. So our idea is to protect those little aglets or tubes around the end of our shoelaces by our lifestyle choices. Because what they basically essentially said in this book and the research is that, yes, while genetics play a part, they are not the main part. So if we're telling ourselves a story that my mom is super healthy and my dad are super healthy, so will I be. Well, yeah, you might be, but if we make lifestyle choices that are not healthy, it doesn't mean we will have the same effect. And that also goes for the reverse. I so-and-so have a certain disease like heart disease or breast cancer or this or that runs in my family. Just because, the writing is on the wall, meaning DNA, doesn't mean necessarily that it will be the outcome. Our telomere effect and the conditions of which we live in make a huge difference. So I'm going to share more about this in detail with the 10 tips that I'm going to be giving you. So I love this idea of it's important and practical ways we can influence our telomeres and have control over our cellular well-being. This is her quote: "Control begins with knowledge about telomeres and how their length corresponds to our daily habits and our health." So, we can create better health by understanding how the science works in practical application. So the first big idea that I want to share with you is like about premature aging. So this is from page 39 of the book. In case you do have the book or you read it or you want to read it, you can reference it. So here's what it says. When you have short telomeres, your cells are not renewing. It is one of the main causes of premature aging and the early onset of disease. No one wants to have a long disease span. So naturally, our telomeres shorten by our lifespan, but we can literally affect this by how we, choose our daily habits. So let me go to my notes here. So the first one. Okay, so this is the first main idea, right? The idea of our inner versus outer age, right? Everyone ages, but not everyone ages well. Two people of the same age can feel and look very differently than each other. We know this from our own friends and our situations in our own lives, but we want to protect our DNA. This is the idea of the aglet, right? The aglet, the end of the shoelace, and the little plastic cap that goes over that, and how we end up creating healthier choices. Like someone who's 60 could look 45, and someone who's 45 can look 60. And even more importantly, that our physical bodies can literally show based on, all the aging signs, right? Like some people's hair falls out, or their skin gets crepey, or they don't have as much health in their physical body. Okay, we see this. So that's the first idea. The second idea is stress responses. So how we live and act in stress responses are critically important, right? And stress is actually the number one threat to our aging process. So if we're living in chronic or prolonged aspects of stress, like, of course, we know that stress isn't good for us, but it's true. It's like we don't think about it necessarily affecting our aging process, and it is. There are two different types of stress responses. A threat response tells your body that a stressful situation is intimidating and dangerous. It might make you nervous, worried, or even physically ill. If you're about to go on a blind date, for example, you'll feel nauseous and shaky. You're agonizing over the outfit you choose and all of that stuff. Or if we've got something in business that's stressing us, we're agonizing over it. That's a threat response. Okay. The other one is a challenge response. So a challenge response is the opposite of like the way we look at things and what are our habits in ourself and our mind, right? And mentally, this is the piece. So in general, the whole idea of the telomere effect is that with our mind and the way we think about things, we can actually change our health, right? So this is this whole book is a good old like research based on why meditation is so healthy, why meditators look so many years younger than they are. Is because they are literally able to do the challenge response. So this embraces a stressful situation as like it's empowering, right? It does not necessarily eliminate the nerves or the anxiety, but it gives a sense of excitement and energy. So it's basically changing and turning that nervousness, that anxiety, that stress, and flipping it on its head and turning it into excitement. So there's many books that talk about this, one of which I've just read also, talks about the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. This research supports what she teaches, right? It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. If you're anxious, breathe through it, move. The actual effort itself will make us move forward. So we're embracing the reframe, right? So it's important, right? We're embracing the reframe. So this is good stress. Not all stress is bad. So that's the one thing too. It's like stress responses. So the number 2 idea is stress responses. Not all stress is bad, but the stress that creates a threat response, which basically creates the lizard brain in our mind to be fearful, and then we react as if a tiger is running after us, and it's like cortisol starts shooting and all the elements in our body, and it's the stress response of our body physiologically is literally creating all this stress. We become useless. We actually turn off the parts of our brain that are solution oriented. Dr. Sean Anker also talks about some of this in his book, where he talks about being a genius for happiness basically is in the way we reframe. I digress. Let me talk about the telomere effect. Big idea number 2, stress responses. So there's 2 types of stress responses. There's the threat response and the challenge response. We want to be able to say, this is a challenge and I'm feeling excited, but I'm also like moving through it. It's like, that's where courage goes, right? We're in business. We know what things are going on. We have to do it anyway. We might feel butterflies or nervousness when the first time when we have to go speak on stage or something like that. And it's like, oh, this idea, okay, woo, it's like butterflies, we go. So maybe you have some butterflies in your stomach, but you're also excited to meet this new person who have a lot in common with, or you're doing something exciting like speaking on stage. But between the responses, you see a challenge. You can guess which one is the better for telomeres, right? Is the challenge response. absolutely way better for you. Okay. So what do we do with this? Instead of feeling your body's stress responses, this is the quote from the book, and viewing them as harmful, a common experience in our brain's database, you can think about your body's arousal as a source of fuel that will help your brain work quickly and efficiently. So when we start, here's the pattern and here's the habit. When we start feeling whatever feeling, instead of going down the rabbit hole of anxiety and nervousness and the way that our brains inappropriately focus and this attention, we need to be like, oh my gosh, we need to say, okay, this is exciting. Something exciting is happening in my body. I can feel the physiological effects of this, and we need to mentally frame this as excitement. Okay, this is the big idea number 2 of stress responses, right? We don't want the threat response, we want the challenge response. So number 3, the big idea number 3 is think positive. Like, this is important. We need to tune into ourselves. We need to figure out what's going on in our bodies. And we need to literally, because the answers are within us for health, but so is the mental piece. And right, and this is how we control it, because we don't have control of externalities. We don't have control over the outside world. What do we have control over? We have control over what happens between our ears, and then noticing with our brains what's happening in our physical body. Negative thought patterns such as pessimism, excessive rumination, this idea of around and around and around. It's like a rat in a little wheel running around and around. And we do this in business, we do this in life. We focus our attention and we like nail it, and then it expands, and it creates all sorts of physiological responses that are not good for us. That's rumination. Distracting concentration and hostility, right? Anger is not helpful for us at all. And it shows right here in the research that it's just, it's not good for aging. It's not good for our health and longevity. Let me just say that again. Distracted concentration, hostility are counterproductive to actual problem solving and efficiency, though they often masquerade as such. Right? So we really think that we're doing something valuable for ourselves when we are focusing on the negativity of the problem and how much it bothers us and why it bothers us, and then giving a phone call to a friend and talking about it some more, and then calling your sister and your brother and your mother and everybody else, and then all of a sudden you've spent a shit ton of time focusing on the negativity, and you're actually amplifying it. You're shortening your telomeres, you're creating a shorter life, and you're lessening the longevity and the healthiness of your experience. So for many people, being a pessimist or a worrywart comes naturally, and it can be these mental habits that can be difficult to kick. There's no doubt that this is difficult, especially if you have a well-worn groove of a pattern that is habitual of the negativity. Some people wear pessimism as a badge. Now, I know no one in this group is like that, but we are around people that are. Maybe we work with them, maybe they live with us, maybe they are even in our families or people that we are around regularly. We can just remind ourselves about how unhealthy it is when we experience it and wish that they wouldn't do it for themselves. But the truth is it's not healthy for us, and science proves it. However, we can learn to spot these mental behaviors before they start ruminating and create all sorts of really unhealthy patterns in our mind, or keep deepening and anchoring those serious patterns. And we can redirect into a positive channel. How do we do that? We can literally recognize what's going on in our mind. So get to know your own habits by thinking and trying to temper them and lessen their negative impacts. Okay. You might find it helpful to work, with someone, whoever that is. It's like having an accountability partner for someone that's going to redirect you for this particular idea is always super great. Someone that really creates that. That's what I would say starpreneurs are for, is they're going to redirect you in the most positive way. Especially if you say, I'm having a really hard time, I'm ruminating on something, and have inappropriate attention, it's really difficult for me, and I needed to talk it out with someone who literally creates. And in the book, they talk about how community is very important. It's actually one of the essential healthy aspects of a healthy life. We as humans are wired for connection. We are wired for it. And if we pull ourselves away and separate ourselves, it's not healthy for us. So having many communities, many different things is important to us. I know that I have a lot of communities that I'm a part of, not just this one. I mean, we have our family community, we have our friends, but for work, I'm probably a part of 4 or 5 different ones, you know, online and in real life. So we need to really cultivate habits that are going to help us generate healthy lifestyles, and that we can literally create the challenge response versus the stressful response. Because negative mental patterns, so there's one is like pessimism and a hostility. So we have to understand what they are so that we can really recognize them. So let's go into it. Like grasping concepts, but what about rumination, distracting concentration, and thought suppression? These patterns will look different for everybody, but ruminating is the act of rehashing your problems over and over and over again. So that's what ruminating is. It's the act of rehashing your problems over and over and over again. How much time do we think we spend in a day where we are actually rehashing a problem? Check for yourself. Like, check in. I've heard this somewhere, that a complaint is a call to action. I would say that this complaint or this ruminating is a call to change the way that I am framing it and trying to turn it into a positive, which would be the number 3 idea that I'm sharing about this book that they give research for. Or, reframe positive, creating it to be a challenge response versus a threat response. And really looking at how much we've spent our time ruminating and going around in the same thing. We waste a lot of time doing this, but not only is the time a waste, we're actually shortening our telomeres, which clearly by the research show that we're actually shortening the quality of our life as well as the health and the longevity of our life. So distracted concentration, okay, is when we are multitasking and it goes awry, like it just doesn't work for us. So we have so much research is proven and showing to us that research is clear. We are not built for multitasking. We actually don't do multitasking. There's no such thing. It's false. Multitasking is basically quickly changing from one thing to another. And we actually slow down the efficiency significantly of each task that we're doing every time we get distracted and we concentrate on something else. That's why it's called distracted concentration. We bounce back and forth, jump between email to emails, or creating a budget for ourselves or a business or whatever, and then preparing the PowerPoint slide or whatever. We're going back and forth, back and forth. Listen, we live in a distracted society. We have so many things that are pulling at us all the time. The amount of ads. This is, again, why I believe meditation is focusing your mind single pointedly on a virtuous object. I talk about this a lot. This is science that backs up and shows us how come, meditation, once again, is good for us. And it is strengthening those patterns for us to be able to concentrate on our work, because we can't get anything done without concentration. And the last one of this negative mental patterns is thought suppression. So this is when we try so hard to avoid something that you can't help but think of. So you can't help but think of it. It's like, I don't want to think of this. And you end up thinking about it all the time. So it's like somebody who's maybe like dieting, for example, that obsesses over the really juicy, thing that they can't have, like a donut or something sweet, or someone who's like giving up, sugar, and then they ruminate and focus and they try to suppress the thought, but it's an obsession. And it's not good. So these activities are like really bad, and they disguise themselves as constructive or helpful, but they are actually the opposite. So basically, when we're suppressing something, it's not helpful. This makes sense. I would say this is the same for when we talk about like suppressing our true feelings, like when we're upset, when we're really angry about something, we're frustrated, and we try to suppress the feeling and then like do like this spiritual bypass thing where we're like, oh, everything's fine. It's not. It's like, I'm having a crappy day and here's why, and you got to address it. And then you say, but then I got to look at that problem. And then you try to look at it as a challenge response instead of the negativity. That is very different. Very, very different than suppression, right? It's dealing with the issue head on, changing the way I look at it, and looking at like, trying to turn the angst into excitement, anxiety into like, okay, this is good. It's going to help me. So that's the third idea is, let's think positive. It's true that telomeres tend to be shorter with negative thinking. Okay, so the science proves behind this study that when we have negative thinking, our telomeres at the end of every single one of our cells is a telomere microscopically, and it's the protein at the end of our DNA. And the longer they are, the healthier we are. But when we're negative, we shorten those telomeres. And as we shorten, we also are creating unhealthy living. So let me read this. It is true that the telomeres tend to be shorter with negative thinking, but they may be stabilized or even lengthened by practicing habits that promote stress resiliency, end quote. So the good news is that we can grow the length of our DNA and the telomeres at the end of our DNA by positive thinking, by relaxing, by meditating, by actually reframing the negativity, by not ruminating, or by creating hostility and amplifying ourselves and running around and spending a lot of time in that negative space. We can actually amplify, lengthen, and create more health for ourselves. It's powerful stuff, right? So we need to acknowledge, so what are some of the ideas that we can think about that particular, thinking in a healthier way? Is we need to have self-compassion. In my mind, that is the virtue that needs to be applied here. Is you need to be self-compassionate. Sometimes we are so compassionate with others, but we don't always create it for ourselves. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Well, first we need to recognize what we're doing. And if we're doing this, it's like create some self-compassion and some positive thinking, because studies show it can increase optimism and mindfulness. We can actually, like optimism, like positivity, all of this stuff, this is actually a mental muscle that needs to be practiced, right? Virtue makes us happy. This book, Telomere Effect, shows the science and research behind all the stuff that, why meditation is so crazily popular these days, right? Or, all of it. So here's what one of the things we can do. So what feels true? So you're in a situation, it's like express what feels true to you in a circumstance. Like, this is hard. I'm not handling this very well. I feel very stressed. I'm upset. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm disappointed, right? And then acknowledge that the reality of this particular suffering is real and truthful. Okay? Just acknowledge it. Like maybe it's like suffering's a part of life. Yeah. It's not if I'm going to be disappointed, it's when. So I need to understand that this is a reality and that I'm not alone in this, that everybody feels these sad feelings, these disappointing feelings, these disturbing and upset feelings. Everybody has them. And a lot of people have the same problems I have, right? And then what I would say is like, then, we could put a hand over our heart and literally just be like, I accept myself the way I am. I'm strong. I can do this. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm not the only one, right? And it's okay. It's okay that I'm feeling this and that I'm going to allow myself to feel it. And then I'm going to, understand and acknowledge the suffering and just say, take a deep breath, put your hand over your heart, and say something that you need to hear. So I gave you some examples about saying, like, it's going to be okay. I'm strong. I've got this. It'll be all right. And just allow the emotions to move through you. Okay. Don't allow yourself to be so incredibly, hard on yourself. We're hard on ourselves. Okay. So idea 4, exercising like habits, and like what's your regime for the healthy habits in your life? Okay, so we got to hit the gym, we got to hit the workout, we got to hit the Calabasas stairs. If anybody wants to go with me, this hidden stairs, they're amazing. I'm going to post a video of me doing the stairs, or a photo. I think I took a photo of myself doing it. It was awesome, and it's short and fast, and it's right in Calabasas, and holy mackerel. Anyway, so here's the big idea: exercise regimes, and and how cellular works. So they call it cellular Pac-Man. Studies show that those who exercise and promote cardiovascular fitness have healthier telomeres and ward off aging longer than those who live in a sedentary lifestyle. If you maintain a realistic level of fitness by engaging in a variety of moderate exercise, you will reduce inflammation, improve your mood, reduce acute stress reactions, and lengthen your telomeres. We know this already. We know that exercising is healthy for us. It's also about walking and getting your steps in or moving. So whatever it is for you that is valuable. They say that people, I guess it's like between 45 and 50, a minimum of 4,000 steps per day, every single day. And 10 or 15 are way better, right? So whether you regard exercise as torture or whether it's total sanctuary, your cells love it and need it. So it's like, if we think about why we're doing it, sometimes it's like just doing it for our cellular health. Maybe it's like focus, concentration, being able to do what you love and continue to do it at the pace you do it. This is the quote: the Pac-Man-like process that eats up the damaged molecules. This the cleanup crew reduces inflammation, increases mitochondria, increased energy, and helps reduce oxidative stress. Exercise also releases endorphins and boosts dopamine, which makes you happier, calmer, and helps you sleep better at night. Remember, if you're sweating and uncomfortable during your workout, you're exchanging immediate comfort for future comfort, energy, happiness, and health. So this is, an idea we understand, right? Exercise regimes. And, I'm a great sleeper, so by and large, and if we don't have our sleep and rejuvenation, it's like, this could be maybe your motivation. If you're not a good sleeper, it's like exercise is super good, or getting your steps in, or running the Calabasas stairs, or doing yoga, or meditating and doing it, right? So we got to hit the gym. And here's what it says. A recent study sought to clarify the relationship between exercise and the length of telomeres. It looked at 1,200 pairs of twins, which detached the effects of exercise from genetics. After adjusting for age and other factors, it was clear that the active twins had longer telomeres. Further studies showed that the sedentariness is harmful to your cells and metabolic health. In a small study based on Saarland University Medical Center, Hamburg, Germany, researchers were hoping to figure out if certain kinds of exercise are more beneficial for telomeres than others. They found 2 different kinds to be extremely beneficial in increasing telomere activity: the enzyme that makes and replenishes telomeres. Moderate aerobic exercise for 45 minutes 3 times a week for 6 months, and high intensity intervals training, which is called HIIT, high interval training, right? So they call it HIIT. So those are the two. 45 minutes 3 times a week. That's why the stairs are so great. That's why I decided to do that, because I love yoga and I love meditating and I love walking, and everything else is like work. Okay. But the stairs, totally fun, right? And you could go up and down them twice in 45 minutes and you're good. It also helps to change up your exercise routine and incorporate multiple categories of exercise, anything from biking or gardening, strength training, in order to increase telomere activity, improves telomere maintenance, and avoids the boredom. So there's so many things you can do to do that. And we all know how important living healthy and exercising is, especially as you get older. It's a non-negotiable. Like, I think I was a crazy workout person all through high school and college. And then, I was a dance major in college. And then after I decided not to do the Masters of Fine Arts program with the dance program, I literally cut like cold turkey. And it was a couple years I did some stuff, but literally for about 15 years, I did nothing. And you pay dearly for it. But the good news is you can get back into it. Okay. So idea number five, sleep. Okay. We know how important sleep is. We do. Most of us probably already know we need more and better sleep. The problem is figuring out how to get it. That was a quote from the book. Okay. So the benefits of good night's sleep are numerous. We know this. So there's so much about sleeping soundly, and getting enough hours makes you more alert and regulates our metabolism. It does many things. So many scientists. We know how sleep. I think I read a book by Ariana Huffington, and she talks about health, and sleep is critical. Sleep, 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 sleep. If you want to get a lot done, be a good sleeper. If you want to have mental stabilization, be a good sleeper. If you want to have a healthy metabolic maintenance on, burning fat to all that, sleep. Okay. As it turns out, when your sleep suffers, so does the telomere effect. Resilient telomeres depend on getting enough sleep and consistent sleep. And having enough sleep-wake rhythms that are good. Sleep in 3-part equation: quantity, quality, and the sleep-wake rhythm. So there's numerous studies that indicate a minimum of 7 hours is the ideal target for telomere health. However, your body will tell you if you need in excess of 8 to feel your best the next day. A general rule to remember: if you're excessively sleepy during the day, your sleep quality is probably suffering at night. Those who rate their own sleep quality as poor are more likely to have short telomeres. Additionally, inconsistent sleep is problematic. If your sleep clock is disrupted because you fall asleep and wake up, it disrupts telomere activity too. So it makes sense, right? So here's some sleeping tips that they give in the book. If you feel like an unwelcome return to childhood, but having a clear bedtime makes a big difference, make sure your bedroom can be completely dark at night, super dark, right? Blackout curtains are inexpensive and abundantly available online. So wearing comfortable sleeping mask can also provide this light blocking. Like I have a sleep mask that I wear sometimes because we like to wake up to the sun in the morning. And especially if you travel frequently, comfortable earplugs can help reduce noise, snoring partners, restless pets, and street traffic. So if you have any of that, like, earplugs are your best friend. Blue light from electronic screens, no, not 2 hours before bed. They force you to think that it's daytime, and it takes 2 hours for that to, you can also get a blue light for any of your electronics in your house. So your computer, you can get a blue light screen. It's like literally you buy them online, and it puts, you just put it right over your glass and everything on your phone or your, my kids all have those on their phone. I have them. It's important because blue light from the electronic screens have been linked to poor sleep. Fortunately, there's inexpensive blocking glasses also that you can wear that are available for prescription as well when you have, if you're on the computer a lot all day. You can use that too, or you can literally do your spring, whichever you prefer. There's also herbal sleep remedies such as valerian root, Valerian. It's a root, or kava, 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 or GABA, GABA, and melatonin also helps. So these are things for people that aren't good sleepers. You could talk to your doctor about it too. I always say go natural when you can. Whether or not you lose sleep because you feel that you're too busy to go to bed, or you are coping with chronic insomnia, you're suffering from sleep apnea. These are all measures that can be corrective, correct your negative sleep patterns. Also, if stress is keeping you up at night, that's not valuable. So part of it is really just creating like a routine before bed, turning your phone off, no technology in the bedroom at all. I charge my phone in the kitchen. I never have my phone as my alarm clock. Get an alarm clock if you need one. I wake up naturally every single day. Like this morning, I woke up, my body just said it was super early. It was still dark out. I can almost train my brain to say, okay, I want to get up at 6 o'clock, and I get up at 6 o'clock. If I mentally make an intention to do that before I go to bed, I'll wake up without an alarm clock. Part of it is because I'm a really great sleeper, so it's like I'm not trying to catch up on something. All the basic things. Make your bedroom a sanctuary. No technology in the room if you can help it. I like TV in my room, but I can fall asleep with the TV on or off, but just, you could also do magnesium. I've done that at magnesium before bed. It's called Calm. And I take sometimes when I'm just like amped up or a lot's going on, I'll take a magnesium. It's like in a cup, and it's like a tea that tastes like orange, even though it's just magnesium and water, and that relaxes. Maybe do stretches sometimes if my body, like after I did the stairs, holy mackerel, I was so tight. All right, so lots we can do for sleep. I think it's super valuable. Big idea number 6, okay? Weight distribution. At the end of the day, telomeres tell us that not to focus on weight, okay? Which is great news because society tells us to focus on weight so much. So this is the quote, at the end of the day, telomeres tell us not to focus on weight. Instead, use your level of belly protrusion and insulin sensitivity as an index for health. So this is interesting. So if our bellies protrude farther out, then there's more concern, and we need to do this. So weight alone is a poor measure of telomere health because it does not take into account your muscle to fat ratio, nor does it consider where the fat on your body is stored. In fact, there is no strong, directly causal links between weight and telomere length. It turns out that when it comes to your telomeres, where you carry your weight matters the most. Excess fat around the stomach, liver area is an indicator of metabolic syndrome. A cluster of conditions such as high blood pressure, high sugar can lead to heart disease and stroke. It can also lead to insulin resistance, a pre-diabetic state which occurs when your cells respond abnormally to insulin. Excess weight around the organs also signals shortened telomeres. So don't count your calories. This is what they say. Study shows that there is no positive correlation between direct dieting, weight loss, and healthy telomeres. So basically, if you're skinny, still it doesn't indicate that your telomeres are long and healthy. It indicates, that you're thin. But that doesn't mean that you have the telomere effect. So belly fat is another story. Too much of it can lead to insulin resistance and indicate poor metabolic health. If left unchecked, people with belly fat and shorter telomeres over the years, which can worsen with insulin problems. So insulin resistant and all that stuff creates shorter telomeres. If therefore no surprises, there's no strong connection between diabetic and shortened telomeres. Don't obsess over the BMI, which doesn't tell you how much muscle versus fat there is stored, and avoid fasting diets. So that makes a lot of sense for ourselves. So number 7, nutritional diet. Food as medicine. I love this. And habits built by health. So basically, worry less about the particular food item and focus instead on eating a variety of fresh fruits, wholesome food. You'll find yourself enjoying foods and fight inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistant without needing to plan carefully in advance. Okay, it's no secret that the dietary choices that we have, so we just want to stay away from, heavy sugar, saturated fat, processed foods. I mean, we know all this stuff already, right? But it's really important to hear it from their perspective and what's going on with our telomere health, right? The foods you can eat also cause inflammation, insulin resistance, and oxidative stress, which occurs in free radicals in our body that fly around. And we need to be able to eat things like fresh fruits and vegetables and green foods that literally clean up all the things flying around in our body and take it out, right? Eliminate it in our food choices, okay? These conditions can be very dangerous for us, so we want to make sure that it's not damaging our telomeres. So we need fresh fruits and vegetables. We need, I do power of 10 greens. I do juicing. I try to eat berries in the morning, things like that. We got to create healthy habits. So certain vitamins and nutrition will help us. Dietary changes can be overwhelming, but we just need to try and work. And there's so many people that can help us with this. We want to eat fruits and vegetables. We also want to eat nuts and like walnuts, peanuts. The interesting thing is like the walnuts are great for our brains. They tell us this in the book, and it's like they look like our brains, so they're good for our brains. Isn't that interesting? It's also, same thing with certain things, certain nuts help us. We also want to do like legumes, okay? So here's some food choices that are good for longer, that are associated with longer telomeres. Whole grains, fiber, vegetables, nuts, legumes, seaweed, fruits, omega-3s like salmon and Arctic char, mackerel, tuna, and sardines, dietary antioxidants, including fruits, vegetables, also beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and green tea. Coffee is on this list. So, hey, Beth Davis, your coffee is on this list. Also, with the vitamins associated with longer telomeres are vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin C, and E, and you can get all this in a multivitamin. Okay, so that's number 7. We got 2 more, and we're right on time, so let's keep going. So the big idea number 8 is community matters. Now, I love this for so many reasons, because you know me, I love community. I love building community based around love. That's what Starpreneur is all about. That's what Happiness as a Habit is all about. That's pretty much, my family. It's everything that I'm doing, like community, community, community. And we are built for connection. So this is number 8. Okay, big idea, or main idea of this book, Telomere Effect, number 8. So they say, creating connection matters, and where we live affects our health. It matters whether you feel safe, whether you have trustworthy, helpful neighbors, clean sidewalks, green space. The elements have a positive effect on our telomeres. Conversely, if you do not trust your neighbors, live in a fear of your surroundings, or experience low social cohesion on your block, regularly see litter, and feel stuck in your neighborhood, it puts stress on your telomeres and contributes to cellular aging. So this is an interesting thought, right? Like, it's like, hello, we are definitely affected by where we live and our surroundings. And, basically people that live in stress-induced places that have like a high energy, and sometimes cities, if you don't take breaks and you don't feel safe there, or somehow are on edge, you have shorter telomeres. Dr. Appel suggests 3 simple actionable steps to strengthen your interpersonal connections and telomeres. Saying thank you, expressing sincere gratitude in other ways to your coworkers and friends and family on a daily basis immediately increases feelings of social cohesion. right? Being present and attentive while you're interacting with someone is a rare gift you can give them, and it helps you build trust. And lastly, hugs. Okay, you know I love this. Like, hello, hugs. Hugs are healthy. I read somewhere you got to have 5 hugs a day to keep yourself healthy. I mean, I always tell my son, you got to give me 5 hugs a day. How many have you had today? And then I hug him, right? Because it helps us. It's like a win-win. All right. So, and the other thing is about neighbors. In a study based in the Netherlands, 93% of the sample rated their neighbors as generally good. These were obviously positive environments, and the specific qualities such as the low level of vandalism and the perception of safety played a role in this overall sense of neighborhood satisfaction. Surveys conducted in Detroit, San Francisco, Hong Kong found that certain features of urban life, vacant buildings, trash in the streets, fear of crime, and the lack of access to green space were correlated with shortened telomeres. That's fascinating. So basically, city life is hard on our bodies and our physiology, and actually affects the length of our life. Some of these factors are not necessarily in your control. You can't always overthrow social stresses. You may not be in a position to move, and you can't choose your neighbors, but you can make them better through small incremental action that foster kinship and places that we can connect to people. So why don't we think about mindfully practicing, right? Like saying hello and looking to other people, maybe getting to know your neighbors. Work to create an environment that everyone will like love. So knowing the place and faces affect your telomere health, you can be reassured. It can be unsettling, but all of us can take steps to improve the health of our neighborhood and create positive social connections. Social connection matters. Community matters. That is the number 8. Okay. Number 9, avoid toxins and pollutants as best as we can. More research is needed to fully understand the connection between the chemical and the cell damaging. But in the meantime, it is responsible to take all the precautions we can. So clean living, it's important. The food we buy, how households we do, like, so try to eat as clean as you can, organic as you can. Definitely, in cleaning products and stuff, try to be as natural as possible. I use a lot of different essential oils in the cleaning. I use a brand of laundry soap that has literally got no additives in it. I think it's called, I use Myers, in my cleaning sprays for the countertops and things like that, because it matters. All those things, like our skin is our largest organ, and we, the air we're around, it is, affecting not just our lungs, but all of our organs. So, try to be mindful in that, because all these little things help our telomeres. Natural alternatives such as white vinegar and baking soda can replace harsh bathroom cleaners. I buy the gallons of white vinegar. It's actually a great softener also for your clothes. It's a great cleaner. And baking soda is super great for also teeth brushing and all sorts of detoxifying. Super great. Anyway, so obviously the internet is full of information on stuff that you can do. And there's things to watch out for, right? Cannery warning is what the book talks about. Outside world can even have environment where like there's potential hazards and chemicals that are contaminants. Scientists have known for decades that some of these substances, such as pesticides, heavy metals, lead, and arsenic, are in literally our physical body, which is surrounded by our uncontaminated environment. So we want to understand that it's like cannery in a coal mine. They are susceptible to pollutants in your environment, and their length of like all the stuff. So sometimes like things that are canned, it's like those are heavy metals. So you can do detoxes of heavy metals and things like that under care of I always do, when I do detoxes like that, I definitely do them under the care of a naturopath or some health practitioner who's helping me. But I think regular purification of our physical bodies is important. Doing juice cleanses, there's charcoal, water. There's lots of little these juice places you can get it, or you can actually get charcoal and drink a little bit of it in your water with lemon. Like there's lots of different things we can do to keep ourselves, clean, like our physical body's clean. I mean, or cleaner. Let's just say that. Okay. And number 10. So that was number 9, avoid toxins. Number 10. Okay. Symbiotic telomeres. Telomeres science offers molecular proof of the importance of societal health to our individual well-being. We now have a way to index and measure the interventions we create to improve that health. So there's lots of things that we can get, to do. Here's the cellular superhero. We've discussed in many ways in today's call and in this whole entire book about how our telomeres can be affected by our external influences. Now it's time to consider how you might be affecting somebody else's cellular health. Consider the people around you, the people that you care about, and whose well-being you value. From your own children to your next door neighbors, how much support do you provide when these individuals are experiencing stress? So this is kind of back to the community piece, but it's also about being a good human being. Like, how nurturing are we when others are feeling, overwhelmed? This is expressing love and encouragement and care for all of these people, and for their times of stress will actually help their telomeres, health, right? So, it's interesting. When I read this book, I thought to myself, it's like, that's really my barometer as a parent. I'm parenting and I'm also managing my business and all the aspects of business and health based on how it is affecting everyone and their health. So we can cultivate a positive environment, whether it's at home or in our cities or at work. We can engage in all sorts of behaviors and things. Telomere health is a very symbiotic concept. It's dynamic and it's changing all the time, and it's growing and shortening. So the idea is, are we doing more for others, as well as, because when we're doing for others, we'll also be doing for ourselves. That's the interesting thing, and it's also the virtuous thing. So we all engage in kind of habits and actions that destroy ourselves and shorten our health, we lose. But when we all do things that create better health for mental health, emotional health, and physical health, it's a well-being is not only for ourselves, but for our friends and our family and our neighbors and our community at large. So there's the macro and the micro, right? So our bodies are a direct reflection of our own life experiences, benefits, and surroundings. You may not understand exactly how it all works together, but now you know more than you did before. So Dr. Apple and Dr. Blackburn want to just say, doing this right now and engaging and listening to what you're doing right here is helpful. A lot of the stuff we know, and it's great to have repeats. It's great to be reminded, and it's great to make a new promise about what is it that I'm going to do on an everyday basis to encourage this, right? This is important to our lives because we don't necessarily have all the answers, but we can act in accordance. So let me just summarize, okay? The book, The Telomere Effect, by Elizabeth Blackburn and, two doctors, Elizabeth Blackburn, PhD, and Elisa Apple, PhD. They talk about the telomeres, and these are the proteins, like the little egglets at the end of our shoelaces, the little plastic caps that go over. We lengthen them or we shorten them by the actions we take with our body, our speech, and our minds, our words, our thoughts, our deeds. Everything is making this dynamic change. And we are not just the DNA of our parents, and it's not fixed and solid, but it can change. It is dynamic. And the actions we are taking to create more health for ourselves and to be able to do more things that are health induced are valuable for us, okay? And we have the power to make the change. I'll go over the quick 10 ideas, okay? The first one is premature aging. The second one is how we respond to stresses. That's number 2. 3 is we need to think happy. We need to think happy thoughts and be positive. That's 3. 4 is exercise and our habits to our exercise and the regimes that we have. Number 5 is the quality of our deep sleep. Okay. Number 6, weight distribution and where the weight falls on us. Number 7 is the nutrition in our diets. And number 8 is community matters. Love that community. Community matters. Number 9 is avoid toxins and pollutants. And number 10 is the symbiotic telomeres, right? And how we affect others. So that is today. We are right at time. That is today's value. That, you know what, this book is fat and thick and big and long, and maybe it might take you a couple days to read it. I gave you a synopsis today to shorten your time frame and expand your telomeres and give you lots of valuable information. I am so grateful for your listening and your being here today. I will be doing more of these, and please feel free to respond to questions or share your learning. What did you learn? What are you going to apply? What are you going to do to help your own telomeres? I know that I've been increasing my workouts now that my arm is feeling much better. I'm about 80, 90, somewhere in there. I'm not quite there, but I'm working on it. I'm working on my doing the stairs and my, increasing my lung capacity. I'm, meditating. I'm doing a little bit to yoga, and I'm doing, drinking the greens every morning. I'm taking amino acids for myself so that it maintains my blood sugar all day long, and I'm building muscle first thing in the morning. And I feel better than I felt in a long, long time, and taking good care of myself. And I'm also working on how can I affect others in a positive way? How can I, create an environment that's loving and peaceful and calm and contribute to less stress in the lives of the people that I interact with in my community, with all of you, as well as myself, right? So I love you so much. We are at time. I'm excited to hear anything that you want to share about your ahas or your learning today. And I love you so much. I send you off with a hug and a squeeze. Okay, have a beautiful day. Holy moly, I just realized that I did not record that, and that I hope you got, everybody that was on it live, you're going to have to watch it on Facebook Live. What a bummer. All right, well, one more benefit to coming live on the calls. Thank you so much for coming today. Bye.